Hi, I'm Mark.
Hi, and I'm Rebecca, and welcome to our Suburban treehouse. We are in Kensington in Perth, WA. We bought this our house about 13 years ago. It's a Californian bungalow that was built in the late 1930s. Just wasn't very functional at all and was very cold.
And finding our family was getting a little bit bigger, and we just needed to use the space a bit better. And also, I think we had in mind we might be able to do something that was a little bit more, sustainable and a bit more energy efficient than what we had already had in place.
We ended up getting in touch with Adrian, who has been our architect through this process. But we weren't necessarily just looking for that double brick, sort of standard construction. So yes, Adrian certainly helped us navigate many different options.
Yep. So I remember the initial brief was basically just being a comfortable home, a sustainable home, an energy efficient home. And we set out in that journey, and through that process, we started to put you in touch with full passive house principles. And I think that developed over time. And then we met Brian from Ismart, and that was when that really cemented that process.
We're here in the old part of the house. Originally, the temptation might have been to knock the old house and do a whole build from scratch, and then we could get all the bells and whistles as far as the build. But I guess we decided that we, from not throwing stuff into landfill to keep the old house. Plus, it's a beautiful old house, and there's a bit of heritage value there as well.
The original part of the building, we've got beautiful high ceilings. There's a beautiful cross ventilation. We're quite lucky. We've got a hallway that runs from the front of the house to what was the back of the house. And so we use that all the time, certainly in summer, to get the cool evening breeze through the house.
I know what it was like getting up in the morning. First thing you do was put on the air conditioner, heat the space up. You get home in the evening and it was cold, so you turn on the air conditioner as soon as you got home from work, and it just stayed on until you went to bed at night. And it just felt like we were running the air conditioner all the time, and we were looking away at having that same space, but not constantly using all that energy running air conditioners all the time.
We ran through a number of different options before we ended up with the passive house designed space. I think what's been good too is the passive house really suited, I'd actually say the design came up first, and the passive house, I guess, adapted to the design, or rather they're both pretty interchangeable.
And one of the advantages of renovating, rather than just completely knocking down, is little surprises like the brick wall here. So originally this would have been inside wall plastered, and we removed the plaster and got a really nice surprise in terms of the old brick. And this is all brick that would have ended up in landfill. And rather than ending up in landfill, it's now this fabulous little feature that joins sort of the new modern part of the house along with the old part of the house.
Our house had an existing, we think it's about 70-year-old liquid amber. So it was well established on our property. At one point thinking, will this need to go? But the tree has given so much shading from the western sun in the morning. It completely shades our house. It's perfectly positioned. Being deciduous means that we get an awful lot of the winter sun in through these wonderful big windows.
This bedroom stays nice and warm in winter, and also nice and cool in summer as well. On the really hot days, you might have to turn the air conditioner a little bit, but again, compared to some places we've stayed in summer, where you've got the air conditioner going all the time, and we're saving all that energy there.
The orientation of this building is really, really important. Directly this way is north, so this room is essentially pointing directly to the northeast. So the morning sun comes straight up and comes straight into this room. I come into the building, and we saw a perfect opportunity to crank this room 45 degrees to capture the view of this amazing tree. In winter, right at the moment, it has no leaves on it. Beautiful, gorgeous winter sun just pours into this room in the morning. But then in summer, and the sun's swung around and coming up further in the east, it's well protected. Keeping this tree was a massive component of the sustainability of this building, and a really exciting component of the design, which I think has worked really well.
It's on our northern side. We do have a 2-storey building there. So when the design was done, we were looking at how we could get as much of that, particularly the winter sun coming in. So it's about midday now. The sun's been through on the floor all morning, And we've got concrete floor with some tiles and wood laminate, and that certainly helps absorb that heat as well. I really noticed the difference when we're in the old part of the house near the single pane windows. You can feel the cold even a metre away, whereas down here, even on some of those cold evenings, we'll be sitting at the window seat, and you just don't feel the cold anywhere near as much. So they've been great. We'll try and explore other areas with Adrian through that process, and that's when we were introduced to Ismart, who are some West Australian builders who specialise in passive house, which is something I've heard about before. I've certainly read a fair bit about it, but it seemed a bit more of a European thing. So to actually find someone who specialises in this, it really seemed to, I guess, ring some bells for us in terms of what would really work for us, and we're pretty excited about that.
So when these guys approached us first, after being sent to us through Adrian at EcoHabit, we had a look at the drawings, and beautiful, beautiful design, challenging orientation, which Adrian dealt with very well. So when it came to passive house, it was pretty much a no-brainer because the orientation was a bit challenging. As with all of our homes, we have high performance windows, high performance insulation, thermal bridge free construction, air tightness, and heat recovery ventilation. All of the walls here are R3, high performance gold bats, 100% recyclable. All of the ceilings are R5 or R6, depending on whether it's ventilated cavity or not. Internal walls, high performance 2.5 acoustic wool bats, as is the extended floor. The U values in this house, they're about an average of 1.4, which is quite low considering a single glazed window is up around the U value of 2.6 to 6, depending on which one you use.
We didn't really have the site to do the passive solar approach. That's where the passive houses come into it.
Your energy transfer from external air to internal air is extremely important. When you have an airtight home, and in this case, this particular extension is an air tightness result of 2.1, which is quite good considering it's a renovation addition.
And we know it's been really successful because compared to the old space where the air conditioner is working full time to keep the space warm, the air conditioner only gets turned on very occasionally, just on a particularly cold evening, and then it doesn't need to be run. In the old part of the house, we have issues with condensation, and here we have absolutely no condensation at all, and the air quality is always really good.
We were building a new house, and it was about 6.5 to 7 month build time.
Yeah, and so that was really convenient for us. We're able to stay on site. We're able to watch it go up very speedily, which was fun to watch as well.
So we're outside, directly out from the kitchen dining area, and we've got a fabulous big deck. In our outdoor area, we have mostly native plants, and if they're not native, they're edible. It's actually given us a few new garden spaces, so we have used what used to be part of the old house is now garden.
We've really taken advantage of that old tree, the fact that it's deciduous and it changes to suit what we need in summer and winter. Previously our deck and our sleep out felt like we were looking down on the garden, but now we just feel like every day we come in, we wake up in the morning, have a cup of coffee, we're in the space, we're looking out the windows, we see the birds flying through the native trees, or I might scurry out to get some chives to put on scrambled eggs in the morning or something like that. So we really feel like we're part of the space, and we've been able to do it in a way that's really, really sustainable. That we've been able to afford windows that make the space work without compromising the comfort inside the house, which has been really fantastic. Yeah. I think for me it's to summarise when one day we invited some people around for the first time, and someone asked, did this meet your expectations? And I think we looked at each other and actually it exceeded our expectations. So it's a very fabulous space that we're really happy with. It's ticked the box for being comfortable, it's ticked the box for us for being sustainable, and it's made us really happy.
Thank you very much for joining us and looking at our house, and have a good Sustainable House Day 2020 using this virtual Sustainable House Tours.